Peter Strzok, Compromised, Counterintelligence and the Threat of Donald J. Trump. Discover the thrilling world of Russian espionage, counterintelligence operations, and the major events that led to the investigations surrounding the Trump administration in the book, Compromised, Counterintelligence and the Threat of Donald J. Trump by Peter Strzok. This book summary will take you through the developments and revelations of cases like Operation Ghost Stories and the investigations into Hillary Clinton's emails, Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election, and the Trump campaign's alleged connections to Russia. Along the way, gain insight into the tactics used by Russia in its mission to destabilize and manipulate democratic processes.
Masterful Russian espionage. Don Heathfield and Anne Foley appeared to be ordinary Canadian immigrants living in Massachusetts. However, they were actually Russian intelligence agents Andrei Bezrukov and Elena Vavilova, secretly feeding information back to Russia. The FBI investigated many such illegals through Operation Ghost Stories, showcasing Russia's mastery of espionage and intelligence. Intelligence refers to secret operations that provide strategic advantage, while counterintelligence focuses on thwarting adversaries. Russia excels in active measures, using false or distorted information to influence political or social outcomes. They also employ coercion by collecting compromising material, known as Kompromat, to manipulate targets into dependency. Familiarity with Kompromat became almost universal due to the actions of former U.S. President Donald Trump and investigations involving Hillary Clinton. Midyear exam, Clinton's email investigation. In 2011, chaos erupted in Libya, ultimately leading to the death of 4 Americans in Benghazi. This event sparked outrage among Republican lawmakers, questioning the involvement of then-Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The House of Representatives formed the Select Committee on Benghazi, resulting in the examination of Clinton's emails. The discovery of classified information within her emails led to the FBI's Midyear exam, an investigation into Clinton's use of a private email server. Libya's turmoil in early 2011 culminated in the death of longtime leader Muammar al-Gaddafi and, later, the Benghazi consulate incident. After 4 Americans lost their lives, the House of Representatives created the Select Committee on Benghazi in 2014. The goal was to determine if Hillary Clinton held any responsibility for the tragic events. Soon, the State Department was collecting and releasing Clinton's emails. Within these messages, the Inspector General, IG, found that some appeared to contain classified information. These discoveries led to the FBI investigating Clinton's use of a private email server, an inquiry labeled as the Midyear exam, with Peter Strzok eventually taking charge. In July 2015, the investigation into Clinton's misconduct was launched, focusing on her use of a private email account for official business. The fact that these emails contained classified information exacerbated the issue. The FBI sought answers: where were Clinton's emails? Who included classified information in them and why? Did any unauthorized individuals gain access to the classified details? While formulating these questions was simple, finding answers proved arduous. Locating all servers that stored Clinton's emails and identifying which emails contained classified information demanded immense effort, often involving multiple government agencies. Additionally, agents conducted interviews globally with various parties to determine the intentions of individuals who included classified information in emails. It was also crucial for the FBI to determine if any classified data reached unauthorized individuals, and if necessary, take appropriate action. Months into the Midyear exam, the FBI team gradually grasped whether pursuing criminal prosecution against Clinton was justifiable. Throughout the investigation, numerous challenges arose, showcasing the complexity of handling classified information in a digital world. Unraveling the Clinton email saga. The Midyear investigation team found evidence of mishandling classified information in Hillary Clinton's email use, but no indication of malicious intent or criminal behavior. The FBI decided against recommending prosecution, concluding that Clinton's actions didn't meet the high bar the Department of Justice sets for prosecution. As the team prepared for final interviews in winter 2015, the discovery of 2 laptops used by Clinton's attorneys delayed the investigation. After they were finally subpoenaed and handed over, analysis found no new information, affirming the FBI's recommendation against pressing charges. Meanwhile, Russia had been operating discreetly in the background. The crux of the Midyear investigation surrounding Hillary Clinton's emails was the mishandling of classified information and whether the Department of Justice, DOJ, would press criminal charges. While the FBI has a high bar for opening such cases, the DOJ sets an even higher standard for prosecution. They are particularly unlikely to pursue cases without clear evidence of knowingly or maliciously disclosing classified information. The Midyear team concluded that while Clinton exhibited extreme carelessness in her use of a private email, there seemed to be an absence of criminal intent. Thus, the FBI chose not to recommend prosecution against her. As the investigation approached its final stages in winter 2015, with key interviews, including Clinton herself, yet to occur, the process was interrupted. 2 laptops used by Clinton's attorneys to sort her State Department emails from personal communications had just been discovered. The team was irate that this information hadn't been disclosed earlier. Although they didn't expect the laptops to change their understanding of the case, the FBI needed to examine them as a thorough step in closing the investigation. An attorney related to the case bafflingly refused to relinquish the laptops, causing a significant delay, which risked overshadowing Clinton's nomination at the Democratic National Convention in July 2016. It took 3 months and a subpoena for the laptops to finally be handed over. As anticipated, analysis yielded no new insights, and a final interview with Clinton left the FBI's recommendation against pressing charges unchanged. Unbeknownst to the FBI, Russia had been quietly making its moves in the backdrop. Cyber war, Russia's game change. On April 6, 2016, an unsuspecting Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee staff member received an email that appeared to be a security notification from Google, but was actually from Russia's Foreign Military Intelligence Agency. The email contained a fake password reset link, which led to a Russian website that harvested email passwords. A similar method had previously been used to obtain 50,000 of John Podesta's emails, Clinton's campaign co-chair. The Russian objective was to use cyber attacks to destabilize the U.S., aid the election of Donald Trump, and create chaos. In November 2016, a new Twitter account named @10_GOP appeared, claiming to represent unofficial Tennessee Republicans. Trump's son, campaign manager, and digital director all followed and retweeted from the account. In reality, it was managed by Russian hackers working for Putin's Internet Research Agency, an organization aimed at creating social and political unrest. The account spread misinformation and conspiracy theories to bolster the Trump campaign and undermine President Obama. Concurrently, Russian hackers registered a web domain called dcleaks.com, which began publishing stolen Democratic National Committee emails, as well as hacked records from George Soros's Open Society Foundation, and a few stolen GOP messages. These leaks were intended to influence the presidential election away from Hillary Clinton and create political divisions within the U.S. The ultimate Russian goal was not only to elect, but to compromise Donald Trump himself. Unraveling Crossfire Hurricane. In July 2016, the Crossfire Hurricane investigation began after receiving new intelligence regarding Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos and his ties to Russia. This investigation would go on to unveil an entire network of connections between the Trump campaign and the Russian government, just months before the election. Crossfire Hurricane started taking shape when the FBI discovered unsettling details about George Papadopoulos, a Trump campaign advisor. In early 2016, Papadopoulos spoke to Australian High Commissioner Alexander Downer, revealing his efforts to foster a relationship with the Russian government. More alarmingly, he claimed that Russia had obtained damaging information about then-Secretary of State Clinton and President Obama, offering to assist Trump's campaign through a coordinated release of this material. Joseph Mifsud, a Maltese professor, was later identified as Papadopoulos's source for this information, but at that time, the FBI had yet to uncover his identity. Determined to identify the informant and learn more about the situation, the FBI began developing a matrix that included all known aspects of the allegation and the potential individuals connected to it. Though details of the interviews conducted by Strzok and his partner in Europe remain classified, within a week, the FBI had assembled a short list of individuals who might have been aware of Russia's offer to aid Trump's campaign. Apart from Papadopoulos, the list featured Paul Manafort, Trump's campaign manager, Carter Page, a member of Trump's foreign policy team, and Michael Flynn, Trump's senior advisor on national security matters. Initially focused on a single person, Crossfire Hurricane soon unraveled a vast network of concerning connections between the Trump campaign and the Russian government just a few months before the election. The investigation's findings would create shockwaves that would reverberate around the world, shaking public perceptions and challenging long-held beliefs. The FBI's election-defining decisions. Entangled with investigations of ties to Russia, the FBI faced a critical decision in the 2016 election. The discovery of suspicious emails during a separate investigation led them to reopen the Midyear exam, investigating Hillary Clinton's conduct as Secretary of State. The choice to notify Congress of the reopening risked swaying public opinion and election results, but withholding the information posed a potential cover-up. The reopened case concluded without finding new information, but the political repercussions were lasting. Within the FBI's intricate web of investigations, agents uncovered unsettling ties between key figures, such as Paul Manafort, and Russian intelligence. This information, which would later become invaluable to the FBI, came to light just as Russia began targeting U.S. social media to influence and sway votes in the 2016 elections. Meanwhile, another intense investigation called the Midyear exam probed Hillary Clinton's conduct as Secretary of State. Having seemingly concluded, it was unexpectedly brought back to life when highly suspicious emails were discovered on former Congressman Anthony Weiner's laptop. The FBI was faced with a dilemma: ignore the potential consequences of reopening the case, or risk inciting a political firestorm by notifying Congress of the newly discovered emails. Ultimately, FBI Director James Comey chose to disclose the reopening, igniting controversy and providing ammunition for Donald Trump against his rival Hillary Clinton. Despite the potential impact on the election outcomes, keeping the development under wraps would have raised accusations of a cover-up and jeopardized the FBI's integrity. In a surprising turn of events, the reopened Midyear exam closed quickly, without revealing any new or significant information. Yet, as the dust settled on this dramatic chapter, the Crossfire Hurricane investigation continued, entrenching the FBI in the arena of political scrutiny, consequences yet to be fully understood. Unveiling election interference. Following the 2016 elections, the Obama administration initiated a discreet, comprehensive analysis of Russia's involvement, known as the ICA. The secretive nature of the study aimed to protect Trump's campaign from any potential fallout. The ICA ultimately confirmed Russia's interference, leading to U.S.-imposed sanctions. However, an unauthorized call between Trump's national security advisor and the Russian ambassador averted any retaliation from Russia, compromising the incoming administration and highlighting the possibility of Kompromat over key persons involved. Kompromat and presidential briefings. In 2017, high-ranking intelligence officials, including then FBI Director Comey, were tasked with briefing President Trump on a report containing counterintelligence information. Among this material was the controversial Steele dossier, which contained a mix of true, unconfirmed, and false allegations about Trump's campaign. While some allegations were salacious and unsubstantiated, any truth found in them could provide Russia with Kompromat, or compromising material to potentially use as leverage against Trump. As the new year dawned in 2017, a critical report filled with counterintelligence insights awaited President Trump. The responsibility to brief the president fell on the shoulders of top intelligence authorities, such as Comey, then director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. Boasting volumes of valuable information, Comey's share of the briefing alone could fill two sizable binders. A dilemma surfaced regarding the inclusion of data supplied by Christopher Steele, an ex-British government employee and FBI informant, in the report. Publicly known as the Steele dossier, the data was gathered for political reasons, aiming to uncover discreditable details about Trump's campaign. Although the dossier contained verifiable facts aligned with the FBI's knowledge about Putin and Russia, it also held unverified and blatantly false allegations. Nevertheless, any truth in the dossier meant a treasure trove of Kompromat for Russia. Evaluating Steele's entire set of information proved challenging. In the past, it had supplemented the FBI's request for a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act (FISA) warrant, an intrusive warrant type, against Carter Page. The dossier also appeared in an appendix to the report, though not for conclusion-forming purposes. Trump's alleged participation in a scandalous Ritz-Carlton event, which involved sex workers in Moscow, lent a seedy air to the material. Despite the dossier's questionable content, it was crucial to provide the complete landscape of knowledge to the president, and the briefing went ahead. Trump's reaction to Comey's disclosure of the allegations sidestepped the expected responses. Instead of exhibiting an explosive denial or admitting guilt, Trump calmly inquired about the event's speculated timeline. As noted in Comey's records, Trump stated that he did not need to resort to such behavior. The importance of these accusations wasn't solely centered on the possibility of inappropriate conduct by Trump. More significantly, if any of the claims were true, the president's denial could grant the Russians powerful leverage over him in the form of Kompromat. By lying about the event, Trump would inadvertently provide Putin with control whenever the truth was known to the Russian leader. Unraveling Flynn's deception. The media exposed Flynn's call with Kislyak, leading to questions about his connections with sanctions and possible lies to Pence. An FBI investigation, followed by Flynn's resignation, raised concerns about Trump's alleged efforts to protect Flynn. In the aftermath of a Washington Post story about General Flynn's phone call with Russian Ambassador Kislyak in January 2017, Vice President-elect Pence publicly addressed the issue. He communicated having spoken to Flynn and claimed that the conversation did not concern the Obama administration's sanctions against Russia. However, the FBI knew this statement was inaccurate, raising questions on whether Flynn lied to Pence or if Pence tried to conceal the truth. To get to the bottom of the situation, the FBI sent Agent Strzok and another agent to interview Flynn at the White House. During their meeting, Flynn lied about matters the agents knew to be false, but displayed no body language typically associated with dishonesty. This left them pondering if Flynn was in denial, had forgotten the conversation, or was simply oblivious to the legal trouble looming over him. A crucial element that emerged from this investigation was President Trump's attempt to shield General Flynn from the repercussions of his deceitful actions. On February 10, 2017, FBI official Bill Priestap requested an urgent review of the Flynn material, as Pence had grown concerned about Flynn lying to him. The subsequent revelation of Flynn's dishonesty was a relief, as it indicated that Pence hadn't knowingly protected Flynn. Flynn eventually resigned and pleaded guilty to providing false statements to the FBI. Following Flynn's resignation, Trump allegedly urged FBI Director Comey to let go of the Flynn investigation during a private meeting. Consequently, Comey informed Strzok and other agents about his encounters with Trump and shared classified memos documenting their interactions, a decision that proved to be insightful. Trump's actions awaken FBI inquiry. When FBI agent Strzok initially resisted investigating President Trump, the prospect of the president being a Russian puppet seemed improbable. However, Trump's increasing interference with the FBI's Russia probe led Strzok to reevaluate his stance. After Trump fired FBI Director Comey, he openly shared his relief from Russia-related pressures with Russian officials Lavrov and Kislyak, willingly dismissing concerns regarding their interference in the 2016 U.S. election. These events finally led the FBI to open an investigation into Trump himself on May 16, 2017, although the inquiry would soon be handed over to Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III. In previous weeks, FBI agent Strzok was hesitant to open an investigation into President Trump's ties with Russia, doubting that Trump was acting as a Manchurian candidate. Yet, as Trump increasingly obstructed the FBI's Russia investigations, Strzok's conviction wavered. Despite keeping quiet about Comey's encounter with Trump for a while, the shocking news of Comey's firing from the FBI became a turning point. A day later, Trump's meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and Ambassador Kislyak raised even more alarms. Not only did Trump confess that firing Comey had relieved him of pressure regarding Russia, but he also expressed no concern about Russia's interference in the 2016 U.S. election. Trump's surprising disclosure to the Russian officials pushed the conversation to new heights within the FBI. The idea of investigating Trump himself became increasingly hard to resist. And so, the FBI initiated an investigation into Trump on May 16, 2017. The gravity of this decision weighed heavily on all involved. However, this investigation would be short-lived. Just 2 days later, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein advised that Robert S. Mueller III had been appointed special counsel for the Russia investigation. Consequently, Mueller's independent team would assume control of this complex and politically charged probe. Unraveling the Mueller investigation. During the intense Mueller investigation in 2017, an enormous effort was made, encompassing thousands of interviews, subpoenas, and warrants. Trump attempted to discredit the process, calling it a witch hunt and pressuring White House counsel to fire Mueller. Peter Strzok, involved in the case, eventually became a target for Trump's attacks. Trump even accused Strzok of treason, demonstrating what authoritarian regimes do: assassinate the character of those who disagree with them, undermine faith in federal agencies, and use fear and intimidation for their aims. In 2017, the Mueller investigation saw a whirlwind of activity as it delved deeply into uncovering the truth. This Herculean task involved 500 witness interviews, over 2,800 subpoenas, nearly 500 search warrants, 200 orders for communication records, and almost 50 pen registers, not to mention the time-consuming process of interpreting the amassed data. Yet, despite the meticulous work being carried out, Trump wasted no time in discrediting the investigation, dubbing it a witch hunt and urging White House counsel Don McGahn to dismiss Mueller. His continuous attempts to undermine the investigation's progress eventually affected FBI agent Peter Strzok, who found himself in the line of fire. Trump didn't stop with mere insinuations, using Twitter as a platform to spread conspiracy theories and launch attacks on the FBI. Strzok, aware of his own professional conduct, agreed to have his text messages reviewed for political bias, and decided it was best for him to step down from the investigation. He moved to the FBI's Human Resources Department, with hopes of returning to operational work later on. However, the situation escalated when his texts became public. The release of these messages invited a flurry of social media accusations about a plot to overthrow Trump, with the president himself leading the charge. Trump even went so far as to accuse Strzok of treason, a crime punishable by death. According to Strzok, this behavior mirrors that of authoritarian regimes, who destroy the reputations and lives of dissenters, erode public trust in protective institutions, and manipulate fear and intimidation for their benefit. It's time for Americans to recognize the compromised character of their president.
In A Compromised, Peter Strzok offers readers an inside look into the world of counterintelligence, the dangers they face, and the critical importance of their work. The investigations into Hillary Clinton's email scandal and Russia's interference in the 2016 U.S. election led to a maelstrom of political implications and ultimately, to Trump's presidency. The author uncovers the complex web of relationships between the Trump campaign and Russia, highlighting how Russian tactics like Kompromat and active measures have both swayed elections and weakened America's institutions. Strzok's book is a stark reminder of how national security remains at risk from foreign interference, and how crucial it is to be vigilant in protecting our democracy.